Hello YouTubers, Strauss here, playing some more Infinifactory. And I saw on Reddit that Alan Zucconi posted a cellular automata simulator made completely in Infinifactory. And then in the comments of that thread, Philip Grigg apparently posted his version that was more efficient and easier to program. And together, they inspired me to build this. It's not really complete, but I'm going to try to explain this. Both of those made me think of Conway's Game of Life. Conway's Game of Life is a zero-player game. Basically, you set it up and watch what happens. It's played on a giant grid, like a graph paper, with two-dimensional grid. Each cell has two states, on and off. Now, in Conway's Game of Life, which is a particular version, there are more general versions, and this can actually probably do the more general versions, although, again, this really isn't tested. This is a single cell. Cells in Conway's Game of Life, as I said, can be alive or dead, on or off, and at each time you recalculate the state of all the cells based on their surrounding cells. In Conway's Game of Life, if a cell has two or fewer neighbors who are also alive, it dies as if from loneliness. If it has three or more neighbor cells, it dies from overcrowding. But if it has exactly two or three neighbor cells, it stays alive. Now, if an off cell, an empty cell, has exactly three neighbors that are alive, then a new cell is born there. The next state, it will be alive. And that's basically the rules. But this is kind of complex to set up in Infinifactory because you need to get inputs from the 8 surrounding cells as well as know your own state. And then everything has to change state at the same time. So there's a few problems there, and I'll kind of quickly go over my solutions. One of the first problems was just how to display it, and in the end I chose just a big grid of conduits here that will either be on or off, and there's enough little lights that you'll be able to see that is on. I was originally going to try something like this. I have switches set up here, so you can see, well, let's start running. See, they're all on, but now I can toggle it to off. But if you're far enough on an angle, it becomes hard to see, so I thought if you had a big grid of these, this would be much easier to see, although this turned out to be really big. Really, the simplest thing in Conway's Game of Life that's interesting is a glider. That is a pattern. It can fit into 3x3, but you really need 5x5 or larger area to show it off. And this is a pattern that will move, basically, diagonally over, I believe it's 5 steps. It will move one space diagonally. So you need a 5x5 area to have it start in the one corner and move to the other corner, and I don't think there's enough room, and definitely I can't build high enough or get around these, so I'd really like larger building areas. Maybe something 100 blocks by 100 blocks or 255 by 255 would be amazing. This is 17 by 17, but it does hang over. It's really 19 by 19, but they're all meant to overlap. I pass signals to the opposite cells by extending or, well, retracting these little fingers, or I'm not sure what you want to call it. The cells aren't going to be hardwired together, but they're all, the corners, like this corner will extend at this height and has a sensor at this height, and the opposite corner has the actual opposite, so they are meant to interface. I also have all sorts of switches here. There's 4 on this side and 4 on that side for the 8 inputs of the 8 surrounding ones, so I can simulate it. And then I also have it reading its own state, and then there's a clock input. Basically, to keep everything in sync, this line down here at the bottom is the clock. So it will... The point is to have a clock set up that pulses it about every 10 cycles. This should be able to change its state in 9 cycles. The 10th cycle would just be for safety. And then it will change its own state once the clock signal gets pulsed. Basically what I have, and this is it right here, I'll show there's a version out here, is it figures out its state and it pushes either this one or this one. You can see they're actually set up opposite. Actually, it pushes this one or this one. But until the clock comes through and retracts this and extends this, this block won't get moved. No matter which one of these, sorry, I'm explaining that wrong. The clock is the inner ones. We get its state from these sensors. And then when the clock comes, it will shift everything and it'll either move the block at that point. Let me show out here. So here is the clock. This is currently set up on an 8 timer. Like I said, that will need actually 10. But here's your output. You can see the output is remaining on because the input is on. But if I flip this, you can see until the clock activated, the output didn't actually change. I can flip this again. It's not going to change until the clock triggers. And you can change this at any point, but the output won't actually change until the clock changes. So this is controlling these outer 2 ones, which are always set opposite, because this is a pusher and this is a blocker. But the clock will then pulse these and move the actual, detection, and you can actually move it twice or whatever. And as long as this isn't changing when the clock is triggered, it will properly change the output. So this is basically a it's a clocked output in logic circuit diagrams or things like that. So I have one of these here so that all the cells will only change state when this is clocked. How the rest of this works? Well, I have 8 pushers here that correspond to the 8 surrounding cells. So they're coming off of opposite sides. I have the detectors here, but I also have, let's say I turn on that one, which is corresponding to this cell on this side, that's on. And if I turn on, let's say the cell on the other side is also on, which is this line here. So all these are wired up in a way that they aren't welded to these rails, but can slide along them as needed. Now technically, this bottom one will never slide because it's hooked up to the first one, but I actually have it built so it can slide. You can see all of these, especially like the one down here, it slid because that extended. Actually, all the ones past it slid. So that's the 8 inputs. Now it also gets its own state because this is right now off. That comes down here, is triggering also the outputs to all the other sides, but it also powers this rail, which hooks up to this last one. So if the cell is off or dead right now, we are on here. If it is on, this retracts and we're on this row. So basically, as you can see, for Conway's Game of Life, it's called a 2-3-3 pattern. Not actually sure what it's called, but if 2 or 3 neighbors are on for an alive cell, it stays alive, and if 3 neighbors are on for a dead cell, it becomes alive, and then all other combinations result in a dead cell. So by changing these sensors and rewiring them, you can basically get any pattern of alive or any particular rule equivalent to the the 1D cellular automata rules. The only issue is right now you have to worry about this, but actually let me turn this off and that will actually give you a bit more room. Now, I think I have it set up so that if too many are turned on, it doesn't go all the way, because these end early, so the connectors will get pushed off the edge, and that will prevent it from pushing out of this area. So if you need like 7 or 8, I don't think they're currently possible. You would have to make this bigger than the 17 by 17 that currently is, if you wanted the rules that had 7 or 8 on, resulting in a live cell. I just built this mainly focusing on Conway's Game of Life, but as you can see, yes, you can modify it slightly, the rules, and still have it work. So here you can see I have this whole center area floating and disconnected, and then when you turn it on, it all falls down 1 and then connects up, and that's how everything can slide. It lands on this block here to prevent it from falling all the way down. So, as I showed earlier, I had turned on... Oh, did it reset everything? Let's turn on the back guy. Here, let's... You can see everything slides when you do that. And then let's turn on this guy, the front guy. And then let's turn on this side guy, which is here. I said turn on, there you go. Get out of my way, thank you. So now we have 1, 2, 3 extended. Where our state is currently dead, and we're triggering this, and this is triggering, and we're all set up to become alive. So now all we have to do is pulse the timer, the clock's signal, and that's this guy here. I'm trying to do it in a way that you can... If I stop this, yeah, everything resets. I'm just gonna stick, for now, another one of you up here. You're on by default. Let's toggle you off. Alright. On. On. Alright. So we have 3 of them on. This is saying, hey, we should be on once we're given the signal that everything can change. So let's toggle this, and you can see we're now on. Additionally, all of these on the outside have extended out to inform the neighboring cells that, hey, we're now on, and you should take that into account on your on the next clock trigger. So for a neighboring cell, there would be a block here, equivalent to this, and if the neighboring cell came on, that would push out to here, just like this pushed out, and so it would trigger the neighboring cell the next time the clock comes around. So all the corners they're up and down. The sides are left and right. So it comes out on the right and it senses on the left. Same thing over here and over here. So they should all fit in. The problem is I wish there was a way to select a region and copy it, and there's basically not enough room here to make multiple copies. So I really can't say this works 100%. It all looks to work. I have all these triggered. If I trigger this again, hey, well, my state didn't change, I can still stay alive. Let's say one of these goes off. Here we go. You're now off. Well, what happened? All this just pulled back, and now there's still two on. Two neighbors are still alive, so we should still be alive. Yep, we're still alive, right? Let's say one of the neighbors dies. Let's do this one over here. Alright, so now that pulled back, and now we only have one neighbor, so we should die this time. We're still alive until the clock triggers. And as you can see, yeah, you can definitely see that's still on. And let's trigger the clock. And you can see we die, and this all goes off, and all the sides pull in. So this is my attempt at making a Conway's Game of Life cell. I'm not sure that this is the best way or only way of doing it, but this is a way that will do it that, in the craziest time, you're going to have all of your neighbors change state at the same time you change state. So, because all this is all connected, only one of these can move at a time, so at most it's going to take 9 cycles for all these to update their state. So I think a 10 clock, which is a simple 5x5 loop, hooked up to the bottom of just one of these, and they'll automatically hook up to everything else, because if you put these right next to each other, they'll just connect. Maybe you want to do a 12 clock just to be safe, but you could run Conway's Game of Life. If you could build enough of these in an area at a fairly rapid pace. And, if anyone thinks of a better way of doing it or sees a flaw in this design, I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to, try to get this working. I wish there just was a copy and paste. You can area select, you can move things around, but you can't copy and paste as of yet, as far as I know. Again, pasting these together, they need to basically overlap by one block, so even pasting them together, it'd have to be a replace just air and don't replace existing blocks type of paste. I don't know how many people have worked a little with Minecraft or MC Edit, but MC Edit has, you can copy areas of Minecraft maps around and paste them, and they have 2 modes, like replace anything that's there or replace only air blocks. So we definitely, for this, because they overlap, you'd definitely have to use the replace only air blocks. I believe, well, you know what? We would have to make some corrections here. I'm thinking about it, because of this other side would be basically floating along next to this. It's going to connect to that block, so we would have to somehow let's see if we did Alright, that's still wired up correctly. We'd have to have this come out one more and then up and get rid of these so they wouldn't connect in the corners. Probably be an issue over here as well. This one we could just, I think, come up like that. This one wouldn't be an issue because this is below, and again, this one wouldn't be an issue. Alright, so I made a small correction here. Definitely, you know, once we get these all together, you might notice a few more things like that. This should be good. That should be good. There's nothing here. This should also be good. Probably move those blocks. Yeah, this... well, the whole thing is right now, it's a little over 1,100 blocks. I think getting rid of these, it would be about 1,100 blocks. Obviously, big footprint. But yes, I definitely... Oh, did I break this? Yep, there we go. That should be all fixed. That's the line to indicate our current state. Let's turn this on. As I said, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, that activated. If I go 4, we're still good. 5 will still be good. But then, as of this point, we can't go any further. So, the 6th one doesn't actually go because we can't push. We're hitting the edge. Oh, and we have also cross-wired some stuff here. I wonder if there's a lot of planning you have to do to get this all working right. So I'm wondering if there's like if I could theoretically extend this one out further, knowing that, let's see if I wire this. If I wire this like that, and let's see if I wire this like that, knowing that I can now extend that into this space right here without affecting anything. So, what happened there? I need a block to hold that up. So, there's lots of considerations, and as I said, since I can't hook, or I haven't copied this yet and hooked multiple together, it's hard to say this works 100%, but the theory seems to be right, and as long as the signaling between adjacent cells works, this should be working. In theory, you could hardwire the cells together just with conduits, but I felt that would be maybe too tight of a coupling between them, and I think the looser coupling of having a block extend triggering the neighboring cell, for me, feels better. So, thanks for watching this. I just want to put together a brief video, you know, of one possible way I see that you could do Conway's Game of Life Cellular Automata. Thanks for watching.